This is the Freedom Otter Show. well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Broadcasting from the Ottoman Empire with 50,000 gigawatts of power, this is the Freedom Otter Show.
Good evening. Freedom Otter here, your water sausage of choice. Jimmy Dean ain't got nothing on me, right? What is today? What is today? Oh, yeah, it's Michelle Obama Day. It's what? Mike. Wednesday. Hump day. No, it's not Michelle Obama Day. Jeez. All right, that was a bad joke, man. That was just terrible. I should shoot myself. Seriously, that was bad. Hey, thank you for checking into the show tonight. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you check out the show notes. Got the link to the Discord 2A community. You can join, be a part of the conversation, and don't forget to leave a comment on the show, either during the show or after the show's done. Let me know what you think. And then also head on over to the merch store, OttomanEmpire.creator-spring.com. Check out the t-shirts, the hoodies, the coffee mugs, the water bottles, the ladies. We got stuff for you. We got stuff for the kids. We got a great purple t-shirt with sausage on it, our mascot. Check it out, OttomanEmpire.creator-spring.com. Oh, man. How you doing tonight? What's going on? It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the day. It's all downhill from here. Cue up Todd Rundgren, and all I want to do is play my drums. Oh yeah, that's all it takes now. We're just about there. And oh man, just yesterday, I don't know, I was in a bad mood. Well, I was in a bad mood today, but yesterday I was also in a little bit of a bad mood towards the end of the day. It picked up though. It did pick up. But honestly, today I woke up, man, I choose violence today. That's what it was today. I feel like I went hard. I think I told somebody to go suck a syphilitic dick. So that's how bad it got today. Really bad. So and not to mention the fact that there's just some new BS going on here in New York. And we're gonna talk about that. And we're gonna have a guest on Friday. I'll tell you about that in a little bit later on. So we will have a guest on Friday to talk about what's going on here in New York. Get a little look into that, as well as their brain into the 2A community space and what's going on nowadays. But in the meantime, like I said before, don't forget to like, share, follow the whole thing. We're right here on Rumble, our home platform. We're also on X, and we are also on YouTube. But honestly, we're just using YouTube. We're using YouTube like a, well, I don't want to say it because, I don't want to I'm not monetized on YouTube, but I don't want to get in trouble over there either. But still, who cares? Just if you like YouTube, go to YouTube and watch us, follow us, whatever. Tell your friends about us, whatever. Just trying to build up some momentum over there so I can drive people closer to Rumble. I'd rather have people on Rumble. It's a lot nicer. It's a lot easier for me to stream. And honestly, I think it's a much better experience overall. And that's my spiel. I don't get paid by Rumble. I haven't made any money off the monetization yet. I'm still doing this gratis here. I'm still working my ass off. I'm grinding just like a lot of the other creators on Rumble. I'm just working my way up. I'm paying my dues. That's what I'm doing. But in the meantime, this is a story I saw come up before I went on here, and I had to talk about this because this is the biggest BS I have ever seen. Reporter blames escalation of the epidemic of gun violence on survivor of mass shooting. What? These are the type of people that deserve a smack upside the head with a rolled up newspaper. If there's a lead pipe in the newspaper, well, so be it. I've seen a lot of bad takes when it comes to our right to keep and bear arms over the years, but the latest column by Honolulu Civic Bee editor-at-large Naka Nathaniel may actually have topped them all. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of the spirit of aloha here. Nathaniel's column is all about the supposed importance of keeping gun culture from taking root in Hawaii, so it's not like he's hiding his animosity towards gun ownership. Still, I was legitimately stunned when I read his opening anecdote where he blames the victim of a mass shooting for the moment that may have started the escalation of the epidemic of gun violence that has plagued the United States. He literally said that. It was 1995, and the Texas Senate committee was hearing testimony from a survivor of a mass shooting at a cafeteria. Okay, I know what story he's talking about. The survivor, Susanna Hupp, told the committee how the gunman interrupted the lunch she was having with her parents. When the shooting started, she reached into her purse and prepared to return fire. However, when she went to grab her handgun, it wasn't in her purse. It was in her car because Texas state law prevented her from bringing her weapon into the cafeteria. During her testimony, Hupp said that it was like watching fish being shot in a barrel. At one point, she made her hand into the shape of a gun and pointed it at the legislature. It was a very effective piece of political theater, and the country has suffered ever since. Bitch, fuck off. That's all I got to say. I'm sure I'll have more, but that's a good start. Political theater. Hupp watched her parents get murdered along with 22 others in the shooting at Lubby's in Killeen, Texas. 20 others were wounded in the attack, which was carried out by a 35-year-old who drove his truck through the front window of the cafeteria and opened fire with 2 pistols. She wanted to fight back, but because she tried to be a law-abiding citizen, she'd left her gun locked up in her car, so she and others were forced to wait for police to arrive before the killing stopped. Nathaniel doesn't dispute any of that, but he still firmly believes that we'd all be better off if we're disarmed by the law, as Hupp was that day. Yeah, I'm really not liking Nathaniel. But then again, he's a journalist. Honestly, I really don't like. I'm not liking this dude. Here in the United States, what Texas started 30 years ago has continued with Tennessee, just approving legislation that permits teachers to arm themselves in the classroom. This is where progress has brought us. Thankfully, we live in Hawaii, a place that remains a staunch outlier when it comes to gun laws and, more importantly, gun culture. Guess what, bud? You're part of the United States. You're not an independent sovereign kingdom anymore. Guess what? King Kamehameha is not going to save your ass. The cops are not going to save your ass 9 times out of 10. I would say 9.9 times out of 10. You are your own first responder, bub. And the Constitution grants people the right. No, I take that back. It does not grant anything. It tells the government to keep their nose out of our rights. They can't tell us how we can defend ourselves, what firearms we can and can't use. That's not, no. So wherever Nathaniel's going here, maybe it falls into Kilauea. I don't know. How's that working out? As the Honolulu Civil Beat reported back in January, gun violence is on the decline nationwide, but that trend might surprise residents of Hawaii. December alone saw 6 shooting deaths in the state, including a murder-suicide, and New Year's Day brought 3 fatalities, including a fatal shooting by police, and the second murder-suicide linked to intimate partner violence in as many weeks. That spat of violence meant the state ended the year with a fatal firearms injury toll close to the highest point in the past 10 years. And in March, Honolulu TV station KHON reported there had been 11 murders in the city so far this year, on pace to shatter 2023's total of 23. Honolulu and Hawaii more generally is not immune from gun violence, despite the decades of hostility towards the right to keep and bear arms. Is that okay with Nathaniel, so long as no armed citizens were able to fight back? My guess is Nathaniel doesn't give a damn. As long as he feels comfy cozy because he thinks police are going to protect him, when that is not the case, he doesn't care. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a prime example of a piece of shit. But I digress. I've got news for the editor at large. The days of the state government routinely violating the Second Amendment rights of residents without repercussions are over. Hawaii is now a shell issue state, And though there is a lot of work to be done to ensure that the right to keep and bear arms can be exercised without infringement, we're making progress. The state attorney general reported a 7.6% increase in the number of firearm registrations last year, a law that is itself abhorrent to the Constitution, continuing a trend that's been going on for several decades. Officials noted that firearm registration activity has dramatically increased over the course of the 24 years in which data has been collected and reported. From 2000 through 2023, the number of statewide permit applications processed annually increased by 262.6%. The number of firearms annually registered leapt by 280.5%, and the number of firearms annually imported climbs 263.4%, according to the report. Despite Nathaniel's contention, there is a culture of lawful gun ownership in Hawaii that has resisted the state's best attempts to kill it off. It's still extraordinarily difficult to exercise your Second Amendment right in the islands, but thanks to the work of gun owners, 2A organizations, and attorneys like Alan Beck, we're slowly clawing back those rights that have been denied for so long. In fact, I firmly believe that even non-residents who possess a concealed carry license will be able to bear arms in self-defense in the not-too-distant future. Nathaniel may be committed to massive resistance to the Heller and Bruen decisions, but he can't stop the progress that gun owners and Second Amendment advocates have made so that none of us are ever in the same helpless position that Susanna Hupp found herself on that fateful day in Killeen. So, yeah, Cam pretty much nailed it there in the last paragraph. So what do you do now? What do you do now, Nathaniel? Well, I got news for you. You can't stop the Constitution, just like you can't stop the signal, Mal. It's coming. Come hell or high water, so you better get used to it. If you don't want to carry a firearm, fine, don't. Nobody's forcing you. Nobody's forcing the teachers in Tennessee either. They have that option. If they want to take on that responsibility, the path is laid out for them. They can take up that responsibility if they want. Just like in any other state in the Union, the Second Amendment protects your right to be able to defend yourself with a firearm. Not only from the villains of the everyday, but also a tyrannical government, which, in my opinion, seems to be getting closer and closer. But who knows? We'll see what happens after November. I'm not going to get into that. That could be a whole nother show. A whole nother show. But what do you think about what's going on here with this article coming out of Hawaii? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And then we're going to move on to our next story here. It's coming out of here in New York State. New York Senator introduces ban on convertible pistols. Many of the most popular handguns in the country could soon be illegal to sell in New York after State Senator Zellnor Myrie introduced a bill banning the manufacture and sale of convertible pistols. The bill was drafted with the help of Everytown. Of course it was. According to the Wall Street Journal, and it's highly unlikely that New York will be the only state where the gun control lobby starts pushing for a semi-auto ban. Myrie said the legislation doesn't name Glock, but he wrote the bill to address Glock pistols because they are easily convertible for machine gun-like fire. The converted guns increasingly have been used in crimes, he said. It's already illegal under federal law to possess an auto sear or machine gun conversion device, but with law enforcement around the country reporting a growing number of firearm recoveries where an auto sear was attached, gun control groups like Everytown see this as an opportunity to go after the firearms and not just the illegal aftermarket accessory. Well then. So like Cam said here earlier, yeah, the bill doesn't necessarily name Glock specifically. It does not. But the way it's written, and with the way the penal code here in New York State sounds, the ban/confiscation is not off the table. Now, is New York stupid enough? Yeah, wait a minute. Let's stop that. Let's stop that sentence right there. Yeah, they are stupid enough. They don't care. They're still sucking on the interest balancing teat. They don't care about Bruen. They don't care about Heller. That's why they passed the CCIA. It was their temper tantrum, like a 3-year-old. Now, will it make it out of committee? Will there be some actual like downstate? Because that's that. So if you don't live in New York State, okay, if you don't live in New York State, let me give you a little bit of the rundown of the political nature here in New York State. Basically, just like in many other states with very big cities like Illinois, California, it is the major metro areas that pretty much run the show. New York City pretty much runs the show for the rest of the state. What New York City wants, the state usually gives them, and that's what you get out of New York City, i.e. gun control. New York City is pretty blue, although the last few years, that blue has been getting a little less brighter. Starting to change shades a little bit here and there. The rest of the state, for the most part, is red, conservative. You have some exceptions like Albany County, Schenectady County, here in the capital region of New York, where I'm in. Then you head out west towards like Syracuse. Syracuse is kind of like that. Rochester's definitely very blue. They've been having issues with the Kia boys and just shootings and everything else because it's just a liberal hellhole. Rochester is just that bad. And then you get out to Erie County where Buffalo is. Those are pretty much your bigger areas for liberals. The rest of the state is pretty much red. My home county of Fulton County. May have remember the sheriff there, Richard Giardino, when he was talking about making Fulton County like a 2A sanctuary county. God bless Richard. Giardino he's a good guy. Fulton County is having its share of troubles too. Ever since the leather mills and the leather, the leather mills closed down and a lot of the factories that do the leather goods in Gloversville, where I come from, moved out. Johnstown. Yeah, it's been pretty bad. Depressed area, but they're still red. They still haven't gone. They still haven't, gone liberal. They still believe out there. God bless them. But that's pretty much the makeup of New York State. Kathy Hochul, last gubernatorial election, won by 7 points. New York is usually a plus 25 state. She won by 7 points against Lee Zeldin. Now we've got everything else going on with the illegal immigrants, the criminal aliens, whatever you want to call them, and everything else down in the city. That's causing a lot of problems for the Democrats here in New York, who've been running the state into the ground for the past 70 years. But getting back here, now we've got this senator from, guess where? Downstate, yep. Who wants to basically ban semi-automatic guns that can be converted. Well, if you're a firearms guy, you probably know most can be converted with a little engineering. So essentially, this could be, the way the New York State Penal Code reads, this could be the next step towards confiscation. Now, there is the takings clause, which kind of stops them from doing an outright confiscation where they would go and try to collect, which is why they do like the gun buybacks and all that kind of jazz. But still, this has not been received very well. Nope. Let's go on. Let's see what else we have to hear here. It's already illegal under federal law to possess an auto-serial machine gun conversion device, but with law enforcement around the country reporting a growing number of firearm recoveries. Okay, I read all that. Let's move on. Despite Miri's contention that other semi-automatic firearms not produced by Glock can't be illegally converted to full auto, the truth is the vast majority of semi-automatic firearms can be converted into machine guns so long as someone's willing to put in the time and effort, as well as violate the law. It's probably more fair to describe Mary's bill as a ban on most semi-automatic pistols. It's also a little surprising that he didn't choose to target all semi-automatic firearms, given that the gun control lobby has quietly been arguing for several years that most semi-automatics could be treated like their machine guns because of their convertibility. So we see where they're going now, right? In 2022, the gun control group Brady filed a lawsuit on behalf of several victims and family members of the Gilroy Garlic Festival shooting in Gilroy, California in 2019. As Bearing Arms reported at the time, the suit names Century Arms and Romanian gunmaker Ramarm and alleges, among other things, that the Wazer 10 rifle made by Century Arms that was used in the attack on the festival constitutes a machine gun under federal law, even though it's a semi-automatic firearm that discharges one bullet with every pull of the trigger. According to Brady, the rifle constitutes a machine gun because it possesses design features which facilitate full automatic fire by simple modification or elimination of existing component parts. No, they're not coming for our guns. They tell us that all the time. Now, we're not coming for your guns. Nobody wants to take your guns. Nobody wants to take them. Guess what? They're coming to take the guns. Brady's tactic is slightly different than the legislation draft by Everytown, but the end goal is the same: to get around the Supreme Court's decision in Heller and enact a ban on the sale of the most common and popular firearms in the United States. Once they're no longer allowed to be sold, the next step is to prohibit their possession. Everytown is also overseeing the city of Chicago's lawsuit against Glock and is actively recruiting Democratic attorneys general to pursue their own litigation. I suspect Everytown, Brady, Giffords, and other gun control groups are also leaning on the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention to get the ATF to reclassify many models of semi-automatics as machine guns, though Biden's handlers may want to wait until after the election to tell tens of millions of Americans that the gun they lawfully purchased is illegal for them to possess. So let's take the Wayback Machine here to 2022. It's just after the Bruen decision is handed down and the United States Congress and Senate pass a gun reform bill, the first in 30 years, with the help of Senator John Cornyn of Texas. Yeah. We're going to talk about John a little bit later. He's not a happy puppy right now. He's not a happy camper. No. We're going to talk about that too. The White House has some plausible deniability about its involvement in the push to ban Glock and other semi-automatic handguns, so long as these efforts are coming from state and local officials and the gun control lobby itself. But if Biden wins another 4 years, I expect one of his first moves in a second term would be against semi-autos. The gun control lobby is already laying the groundwork for a ban, and Myree's bill is another big step in that direction. We've seen it where did we see it? I mean, we saw it in Illinois. We saw California try to pull something like this. So New York is just the latest battleground for this BS. This is where it's happening. So we all know it's BS. We all know what's going on. But let me pull up the part of the penal code that I'm talking about so you get a better idea of what we're saying here. So let me go here. Where's my bookmarks? That's Grok. Where's my bookmarks? That's my list. Dang it. Where are my bookmarks? There they are. All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about Jerry Nadler too. Jerry Nadler's an asshole. Where'd it go here? Did I save it? I thought I saved it. Well, maybe I didn't save it. Well, that kind of sucks. I thought I saved it, but I guess I didn't. Now I got to dig back. Frog of shame. Where is it? Here. It's in here somewhere. Oh, come on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't forget to. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Badger. I know. Okay. I can't find it, but still, basically. I'll repost it on X a little bit later. I can't find it right now, and it's just taking too much time. But this also brings up who our guest is going to be on Friday. You know the man. You love the man. He literally threw up the FPC gang sign in front of David Hogg's face at Dartmouth. Yes, Vasterbone. Vasterbone, I asked him after we saw this come up. He was one of the first people I saw talking about it on X. And he went into some depth on some of the issues with this new bill. And so I messaged him and asked him if he would like to come on the show. And we hammered out Friday. So he'll be on Friday's show. All right. He'll be coming up. And that show will actually be, because of the time difference where he is, we're going to be just an hour earlier. So 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All right. On Friday, we'll have a Vasterbone here on the show. And our primary focus is going to be talking about this new bill here in New York State. So make sure you set that in your calendars. And now I, of course, will let you all know about it incessantly on social media. So we'll talk with everybody then. So what are your thoughts on this bill? What you're thinking? Let me know in the comments down below here on Rumble. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to put it in the comments there as well. I'm going to start reading some comments that come up after the shows are done. I think we're going to add that element to the show. Kind of give it a nice rounding out. What do you think? I think that's kind of cool. Let me know either in chat or let me know in the comments down below. All right, next story up. The media and GOP establishment, the rhinos, they're terrified of the AK guy. What? Brandon seems such a nice guy online. I mean, come on. Isn't he? He seems like a nice guy. What's their problem? Brandon Herrera is a gun guy and a gun influencer. He's that new breed of gun person that can only exist in the world where YouTube is a thing. After all, how else does a guy who makes and shoots guns for a living have a chance to run for Congress and become a viable candidate? The people love him. He's like Ferris Bueller. The sportos, the geeks, the dweebs, the sluts, the jocks, all of them. They love him. He's a righteous dude. Yet, Herrera is a viable candidate. What's more, not only does he scare incumbent Tony Gonzalez, but he terrifies the rest of the Republican establishment. And that's not supposition or guesswork. That's pretty much the crux of this piece from Politico. So Politico wrote, I guess, a little hit piece here on Brandon. And Tony Gonzalez has left the reservation. Every single post I see is nothing but mudslinging at Brandon. Nothing substantive of policy at all. It's all mudslinging on Brandon. Nothing else. No policy whatsoever. He's got nothing. Zip, zilch, nada, nil, null. Tony's going to take the hit, the big hit. They're going to, seriously, they're going to take the cannoli from Tony. Representative Tony Gonzalez's centrist voting record and willingness to extricate his colleagues have earned him a fair share of GOP enemies. Finding Nemo, anybody? Party leaders are still dreading what happens if he loses a runoff this month. The West Texan is battling for his political life after being forced into a primary runoff with gun rights YouTube star backed by members like Matt Gaetz and House Freedom Caucus chair Bob Good. Brandon Herrera, known as the AK guy, after his affection for assault rifles, quote unquote assault rifles, would likely align with rabble-rousers who have repeatedly challenged GOP leadership. Because what has the established GOP done right now? What have they done? Seriously, what have they done for any of us right now? Their job is to get reelected. That's it. As soon as they get in, the first thing they do is they start figuring out how they get reelected. Policy be damned. And I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it again. If a politician solves the problem, he's got nothing to run on next election. So what have the establishment GOP rhinos done for us? What have they done for us? Well, obviously, they haven't protected our constitutional rights, as we've seen with the FISA warrants and with the Second Amendment, the bill that's got John Cornyn all in a tizzy, backpedaling. Bastards looking backwards, I'm telling you. We're going to be talking about him a little bit later on. Getting back to the story, though, if Gonzalez loses the runoff at the end of the month, Republican leaders would face two worse alternatives. They either risk losing the seat entirely thanks to an unpalatable Republican nominee who has mocked the Holocaust, veteran suicide, and Barron Trump, or they hold it but welcome into their ranks someone who's likely to further inflame internal caucus divisions. The reality is, if Tony doesn't win the primary, the Dems win the seat, said Representative Ronnie Jackson, who is backing Gonzalez. The guy that's running against him could potentially win the primary, but he cannot win the general election. So I think it's a pretty clear choice. It should be for most people. Yeah, Ronnie, I think people are getting ticked off and just they're sick and tired of it. They're fed up. Congress's approval rating is, I don't know, what's below the sub-basement? Seriously. There and that's the other Politico. Yeah, they're just taking their talking points from Tony. That's all they're doing. Mocked the Holocaust, veteran suicide, and Barron. Yeah, that all BS that's been taken out of context, twisted. We've seen it before. It's plain and simple mudslinging for politics. Super normal stuff for American politics. Yeah. First, let me just say, if Gonzalez is the most Republican you can get out of that district, you might as well hand it over to the Democrats because he's not doing you any favors. Seriously, though, I'm not so certain that Gonzalez is really the only guy who can win that district for the GOP. The truth is that this is a district that still went to Trump in 2020 and has been redistricted to make it even more conservative friendly. Considering how the last 4 years have gone, particularly at the border, it's unlikely they've suddenly decided illegal immigration and other Democratic talking points are just swell. What's interesting is how the establishment Republicans, Politico, seem to back Gonzalez, despite him being squishy on so many key issues for the GOP. Why? Because once you're in office, they want to keep you there because they expect you to work to keep them in office. Not everyone plays that game. Like I said, soon as that election is certified, their first job, getting reelected. Gates dismissed concerns that a Herrera primary win might cost the GOP in the general election, saying in an interview, "We barely have the seat now." The Florida conservative, who has taken on other incumbents this cycle, argued that Gonzalez's remarks on Representative Chip Roy's border bill really energized his critics. When Tony Gonzalez calls those of us fighting for border protections unchristian, it struck a nerve. And we'd like that question to be litigated for Tony's constituents, Gates added. So let the people decide. If they're willing to go along with the mudslinging because that's all that Gonzalez has put out, okay. I mean, I'm not from Texas, but I wouldn't wish this kind of BS on my worst enemy. Gaetz has been called horrible things by Gonzalez, and based on the Texas incumbent's comments about others, including Herrera and Gaetz, it's no wonder none of them particularly care for him. But the truth of the matter is that Gaetz is right. As it stands, Republicans barely have a seat now, especially when it comes to subjects like gun rights. Something interesting in all this, there's no indication Politico even tried to speak with Herrera. I'm making my shocked face. You know, the smiley emoji with just a straight line for the mouth. That's my shocked face. That wrote a whole article about the race and the GOP infighting, but no one thought to talk to Herrera. After all, you'd think his insights about why he decided to step into the ring when there was already a Republican in office might be illuminating, but they didn't. Instead, they ignored a key part of the story because, frankly, Herrera would lay it all out, plain as day, for anyone interested in looking. Gonzalez is eager to infringe on our gun rights, something Herrera most definitely would not do, and take shots at his fellow Republicans as much as any Democrat, offering Republican constituents nothing at all. It's why more than half of all voters in the primary opted for someone else. If they coalesced around Herrera, Gonzalez is going to need to brush up his resume. And no, I'm not convinced that it'll suddenly swing Democrat simply because the guy who shares a name with a legendary football player, the reason I think he's managed to win is they think they're voting for the tight end, not this wet T-shirt, doesn't win his primary. Yeah, Gonzalez is pretty much, he's an empty suit. If anything, he's just a Democrat wearing a Republican skin. That's it. The guy is trash. And honestly, I would love to see Herrera beat the crap out of him, metaphorically, in an election. Still, but yeah, I'd like to see him get his ass whooped in the election, for sure. That, to me, would be pretty cool. Brandon, from what I've seen, I mean, I only know him through his videos, but he seems pretty much like a straightforward guy. What you see is what you're getting. So if that's what you want, that's what you should get. Oh, hey, we got some Kamenshik. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for coming into the chat. Appreciate that. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's doing well. And while you're at it, why not head on over to the Ottoman Empire merch store? Yes, that's right. It's time for that commercial in the middle of the show where I entice you to go over to my store and check out the t-shirts, the hoodies, the water bottles, the coffee mugs, the kids' clothes, the ladies' fitness clothes, all that kind of stuff with our lovable mascot Sausage on there. He looks good. He's fit. He's trim. He's happy. He loves playing StarCraft. And the funds from those sales go to this channel as well as the gaming channel. And they help build up the studio, build up the show, build up content. So head on over, see if there's something there that you might like. Maybe there's something there that'll be a great gift. Or maybe you see a kid's t-shirt for a niece, nephew, maybe your son or daughter. Just need a banging around shirt and it looks good on them. It's like Oshkosh Bagosh or something like that. Head on over there, OttomanEmpire.creator-spring.com. Check it out and enjoy. All right. I said we were going to talk about John Cornyn. Now we're going to talk about John Cornyn. Hey, I hear you like John Cornyn, so I'm talking about John Cornyn while talking about John Cornyn. This guy, I don't know whether to feel bad for him or be angry at him. I honestly don't know. But let's get into this. Cornyn engages in damage control on ATF new rule. Yeah, it's coming back to bite him in the ass. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which wouldn't have passed without the help of Senator John Cornyn. Cornyn championed the bill in the Senate, getting enough Republicans to sign on in order to get it out of that chamber and onto the House, where there was never a chance of stopping it. which honestly might not have been too big a deal were it not for this one bit that changed the definition of gun dealer, removing the requirement that someone attempt to make a livelihood out of selling firearms. It seemed a small thing, but now it's opening up things for the ATF where they can essentially push through universal background checks without going through Congress, and Cornyn is now trying to do something about it. The genie's out of the bottle, Johnny. You screwed up. I don't know if they sold you a bill of goods and then they screwed you over or what. But now you're in it. U.S. Justice Department rolled out a new policy last month requiring background checks for people who informally sell firearms at gun shows or on the internet. The rule, which is set to take effect on May 20th, is based on a revised definition of gun dealers put forth in Cornyn's so-called Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Previously, gun dealers were defined under federal law as those who sell firearms with the principal objective of livelihood and profit. Under the revised definition, gun dealers are any people who predominantly earn a profit from selling firearms. So you see what they're doing? Same thing they do on everything. Change the definition. They're doing the same thing with the semi-autos. Only this time they wrote a law. It's not a rule thing. It's a law. But what are we going to do now? Under this regulation, it will not matter if guns are sold on the internet at a gun show or a brick and mortar store. If you sell guns predominantly to earn a profit, you must be licensed and you must conduct background checks, Attorney General Merrick Garland said last month. This regulation is a historic step in the Justice Department's fight against gun violence that will save lives. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. Cornyn has vowed to file a congressional resolution of disapproval over the policy, and he said the Biden administration's efforts to tie it to the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act is an outright lie. No, John, it's not. You gave him this. You were the guy that fought for this. You wanted to be bipartisan, and this is what they did to you. They screwed you over. They screwed you, John. They rogered you good. This rule has long been on Democrats' wish list, and for the Biden administration, it says to say it's a result of our school safety and mental health law is a shameless attempt to hide their real goal to take away the firearms of every law-abiding American. Cornyn said in a joint statement with North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis, "We will fight this unconstitutional rule tooth and nail and look forward to overturning it in the Senate as soon as possible." Well, good luck, John. Good luck. Because I don't know. Do we still want you to help us? I really don't know anymore. Tom goes on to say, "I'm sorry, but Cornyn doesn't get to play savior here. He's the reason we're in this mess to begin with. Were it not for him crossing the lines on BSCA, the definitions wouldn't have changed enough for the ATF to even begin to try this. He cajoled and pushed for the precise legislation that opened the door. Now he's trying to engage in damage control, hoping he can keep his job by being aggressive in his rhetoric about the Biden administration's efforts. Did he not see this coming? Did he even read the bill? No and no, I'm betting. I don't think he did. I think he saw an opportunity to score points, and what happened? Please bend over, Senator, and bite down on this. Now, you may feel a pressure. Yeah. To be fair, I don't actually think Cornyn intended this to happen. I think he just didn't think through the ramifications of his actions. A lot of that going around. Yet, let's also remember that we don't give people a pass on the results of their actions. How many people are held culpable for the accidents they get into while driving drunk? They don't intend to hit other cars or pedestrians, but they do, and we hold them accountable. The Crumbleys didn't intend for their child to carry out a mass shooting, but the lack of intention didn't absolve them in the eyes of the court. Anna Guerreras-Reed didn't intend for a live round to end up in the gun that killed Helena Hutchins, but she's going to do time for it just the same. We hold people accountable for the outcomes of their actions, and in this case, Cornyn's actions directly led to the ATF's proposed rule. While we can argue that even the BSCA's changes, It's still overreach. It's overreach that wouldn't be remotely possible had Cornyn not bent the knee to Biden in the first place. So what do you think? I think Cornyn is, let's just be honest, Cornyn's a dipshit. All right? He's a dipshit. He's just a dipshit. All right? The man didn't read, or he was just too wound up in trying to score bipartisan points to make him look good. Remember, day one, trying to get reelected. This guy, seriously, I really hope this guy gets voted out. I really hope so. I hope another Republican takes over his seat, yeets him out. He's pretty useless. This pretty much, I'm going to call it right here. This pretty much ends his political career. If it doesn't, then I don't know what will end anybody's career nowadays. Still. All right. Well, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. All right. Head on down and come on, type. I want to hear keyboards clacking. Let me know what you think about the, not only the ATF's new rule. What about Cornyn? Do you think Cornyn is let me know what you think. Is he stupid? Did he get snookered? What's the deal with Cornyn? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below here on Rumble. All right, last story of the night. Minnesota lawmaker refuses mandatory storage exception for stalking victims. So the other day, was it Friday's show? Might have been Friday's show. Got into a back and forth with a gentleman online about this mandatory storage law and how mandatory anything from the government is not a good thing. Yes, people should be encouraged, incentivized for safe storage of their firearms. But when it's mandatory, it's never good. It's never good. And as Tom is going to tell us, it's not good for stalking victims. So I'd love to know what Stilettos and Shotguns thinks about this one. There's a lot of disagreement on how many people use a gun defensively every year. All estimates show that they're used to defend life far more often than it takes. But depending on who you ask, they're likely to get a different number. But we do know that some people use guns defensively. Sometimes those people are good, innocent folks under threat from someone. It's usually not someone who saw something they shouldn't have either. They are pretty rare, happening more in movies than in real life. The folks I'm talking about are people like stalking victims. They know someone out there probably wants to hurt them. They often get guns to protect themselves. Yet a lawmaker in Minnesota has the most idiotic take on why there shouldn't be an exception for these people. Representative Kaylee Vang just said on the House floor that we shouldn't allow women to keep guns in their own homes for self-defense because they aren't trained well enough. Minnesota House GOP War Room posted Thursday on X, along with a video of the DFL politician stating her objections to any exceptions to her gun storage bill for women who have been victims of stalking or who have petitioned for a restraining order. Her reasons: existing exceptions apply to people, she says, are experts at using firearms. This amendment would give exceptions to those who are not. By experts, she means only ones, members of law enforcement who give daily examples of why they don't have special qualities that automatically make them more trustworthy than the rest of us. Predictably, the restrictions do not apply to firearms owned or possessed by a peace officer while the other officer is engaged in the performance of official duties. In case anyone is still unclear on how that appellation came to be, meet the DEA agent who shot himself in the leg while holstering his firearm after telling a classroom full of children, "I'm the only one in this room professional enough to carry his Glock 40. The jokes just write themselves. It's fair to ask why there should be exceptions on rights for anyone, or more to the point, why there should be infringements in the first place. And then again, justifying those as being for the greater good has proven to be one of the more effective ways of swindling the witless out of their rights and getting them to demand stripping them from everyone else. And if there's one thing her has shown herself adept at, it's using logical fallacies to sway a critical mass of non-critical thinking Democrats. That's the thing. They have to trick you. They're like, okay, they're like a vampire. You know that old vampire rule? They can't come in your house unless you invite them in. Same thing with your gun rights. They can't take them away unless you let them. If you tell them no, you tell them we're not going to vote for you next time. If you do this, they hear it enough from enough people. Yeah, they won't do it. Otherwise, they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about your kid, your dog, or anything else. They don't give a damn. They'll let you twist in the wind for all they care. As long as they got their armed guards and their 3 squares a day, they don't care. They got their house, they got their driver and their limo, take them to and from the hill. They don't care. You are your own first responder. I find myself in agreement about exceptions as a general thing. I tend to favor the rule applying to everyone, if not for no other reason than to make sure that everyone understands they don't get a pass and hopefully oppose his nonsense. This nonsense. Hell, call her a him. I don't care. But the reasoning here, if you can even call it that, isn't that the rules should apply evenly. No, it's that women who are actually under some kind of threat aren't trained enough to not lock their guns up at night when they might actually need them. First, that's a bold statement. I know too many women in the gun community who can kick my butt 9 ways to Sunday on any course of fire you care to name. They're instructors as well, passing along both raw information and wisdom to an untold number of students every year. To say that women aren't trained well enough in such a blanket manner sure sounds a lot like that kind of thing a misogynist of a bygone era would say about women doing man's work. Beyond that, though, at least most mandatory storage bills, they are not safe storage, no matter how proponents try to frame them, as illustrated here, only require one to store a firearm if it's not under the individual's control. The idea being that if you're carrying it or you have it right next to you, then unauthorized hands aren't going to grab it. Minnesota's does not. In fact, it expressly says a firearm is not considered stored, kept, or left under this subdivision during the period that it is under the direct physical control or reach of the person. Yeah, I think they're trying to use the old DC law, the one that Heller overturned about storing firearms. I'm willing to bet they would do that if they could. They would use that exact language. Story goes on to say, which is why people are suggesting an exception for people with restraining orders or who were the victim of stalking. Vang's comment, however, makes one thing very clear. She doesn't trust anyone but the police with guns, except for her and her buddies. And while she's later quoted with the "I'm a gun owner, but" thing, it's also clear that she thinks anyone else is a menace. When the bodies start dropping because women can't get into their guns in time, it's on Vang's head. Especially this, they're not professional enough. As quoted above, we all remember the DEA agent quite well. He was the only one professional enough to handle that Glock 40 right up until he shot himself in the leg. She considers him proficient enough, but not someone like a Julie Golub. Makes perfect sense. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, Tom. And it's still, she has internal misogyny. What can we say? She's going to get people killed. Let's just put it that way. If this passes, she's going to get people killed. Anybody that follows this law will end up, if they've got restraining orders, don't work. I mean, we saw the video. I believe, maybe, was it out of Texas? I'm not 100% sure where it was from. Maybe Tennessee, maybe Georgia. I don't know. Somewhere in the South. Lady had a restraining order. Her ex came a-calling. with a firearm, gave her a couple of good beatings, and then shot her dead. She didn't have a gun. Don't know why, really. I don't remember the exact circumstances of why she didn't have a firearm at the time. But we've seen that story before, time and time again. What are we doing about that? Absolutely nothing, according to Vang here. We're not going to do anything. It's fend for yourself. Learn to swim. Yeah, you're on your own because you're not qualified enough, but Vang is. I know what else Vang's qualified at. Being an idiot. What do you think about the story? Let me know in the comments below. Head on down there, right here on Rumble. Let me know what you think about it. You think Vang's an idiot? What do you think about exceptions? Let me know down in the comments. Love to hear what you think about it. In the meantime, remember, we've got Avasterbone coming on Friday. That's our next show. It's going to be a half hour earlier, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Right here on Rumble, YouTube, and X. Put it in your calendars. Also, don't forget to stop by the merch store. Give it a quick look. I know there's going to be something there that you like, honestly. Make sure you also like, share, and subscribe. Spread the word about this channel. Let them know about it. And head on down to the show notes there. Look for the Discord link. Join the Discord. Join our two-way community. And don't forget to leave that comment. We'd love to hear what you think. In the meantime, that's going to wrap it up for me. Keep your head on a swivel and act accordingly.